in old days, the mangle was a prime tool. You turn the handle, the rollers go around, and I push a bit of clay through it, and out comes the slab. This is what's called a crank mixture. It's got a bit of grog in it, so it's a bit rough, but rather nice to work with. And you crank it through. If you lift it up a little bit at the back, it helps it to slide along. And the length can be just as long as you want it to be. So we've got quite a nice big slab there now. One of the things I like to do is to build up layers of interest in the sheet of clay. So starting first with this clay, which has a certain amount of iron content in it, which will make it go toasty brown in the firing. I now want to vary that by putting a stencil on top of it. I keep a whole drawer full of various bits of fabric that have holes in them. I enjoy looking at around a fabric shop, not so much at the fabric, but at the holes that are available. Makes it more interesting. I particularly like them when they're geometric. This one's got nice squares on it, which is kind of interesting. My favorite is this old curtain fabric. It's getting a bit past its best now, and it's starting to fall apart really, but in a way that makes it all the more interesting. Put it in, put it over. I look for patterns quite often, and repeat patterns are sought after really. If I roll that in, that now sticks quite firmly to the clay. And then I take some slip. This is nothing more than clay and water mixed together to give me a slurry. So if we lay the white slip on over the top of this, it builds up a contrasting color on the slab. You can add a variety of colors at the same time, and I often use a blue slip and a green slip as well, and then build up colors on top of that. So there's a band now of copper going on here. Now we'll add a bit of blue color, so we've got a white, a green, and a blue. If you repeat the shapes, alternating, it makes a rhythm that develops into a composition, and I think that's very important to the overall effect. If you put a line in it, even with your finger, it makes an interesting pattern. If you just simply drag through, you get one kind of pattern. I like to take just bits of plastic and cut some notches out of it. This can be your dividend card from the co-op or something, and it'll give you a sharper line. This is a little palette spreading tool for tiles, and I've just cut some notches in it. So they go from small to large, as they do here, and it gives you a sense of distance as well. Small lines receding, large lines coming forward. I'll give that a bit of a wavy quality. And some of that is over this cloth stencil as well. If you peel this off now, you've got a pattern there, but you get the lovely sense of organization with a strong pattern as a result of the slip over top of the clay. Now what I'm going to do is to put this aside to dry for a little bit, and I'm going to take some other clay and make some strips to lay over top of this, and I shall put another layer on top and roll it through and see if I can get some interesting shapes that way. One of the tools that I discovered recently was this wood graining tool. in a painting and decorating shop. And if you apply a bit of slip to your slab, it's a bit like paint really. Make a band of that. And if you get this to comb in the right fashion, you get a sense of wood graining. I'm going to cut these into strips to lay over this piece, trimming off the excess here. The idea is that I'll take these strips and apply them to the top of this, so I'm building up an added layer. Let's start with something here, the smaller one across the center here. Looking at the angle here. And then a slightly larger one here. Pick an interesting bit. Do we leave the big one? Let's see what happens, but what it looks like. We'll put the large one down there at that end. Okay. Now we'll trim these off. Now that I've got the pattern laid out here, I want to turn it over and put some additional strips on the other side. I don't want to smear this, and I want to keep it clean, so I'm going to put some paper on top of it and then flip it over. Bit of brown wrapping paper. I'm going to roll it in the direction of those lines so the paper wants to go in that direction, and flip them over. This gives me a pattern that will be interesting on both sides of the piece of clay. I think it's important to consider the back of the work. I'll add a little bit in there to keep the dimensions the same as it goes through the roller. Where they overhang a bit. Now, I think this slab will stretch this direction, and I want to be sure it stays on the paper. I don't want a sharp edge, so I've torn this and put another bit under here to give an irregular edge that won't be too obvious. So now if we turn the handle, with a little bit of luck, things will begin to move. The whole thing will start to roll along, he says, hopefully. And you can see it stretching. It's moving towards the end of the roller, or the end of the paper, and it's carried on past the paper a little bit, not too much. And as it comes out the other side, we should be able to see what's happened here. It has stretched. You can see the markings there where it stretched. It didn't actually tear in this case. Sometimes it creates holes in them. But we certainly have fused the pieces of clay so that they look as if they are kind of one. This has moved a little bit, so it's run off center, which I didn't anticipate. I do rather like the irregular edge that's happened here. And remember, this is also probably the back of a bowl. I'll be making a dish out of this. So now let's get this to a position where we can flip it over and look at the other side. You can see the grid work has opened up. The pattern is happening across here. And you have a modified grid with lovely variations here. Some of it's smudged a little bit. That's okay. It's soft. We've got some crisp edges here. The clay, when it was flattened, spread out, so the band of white, which went all the way to the edge, is now surrounded by two strips of dark. So you've got dark lines down each side of the white pattern. And you know, this whole thing now will be shaped into a dish form. And subsequently glazes will be applied to the top of that, and the result will be another layer of color on top of that. But the glazes allow these colors to show through. Okay, I'm going to convert this decorated sheet of clay into a bowl, a dish if you like. I've got a loosely tied together picture frame that is made out of wood, and I want to make it a bit bigger, so this one I've added a couple of extra pieces of wood around it. These extra pieces are just removable, so it can go up in size to any size that I want. But this will give me a square-shaped dish. I've got to try to pick this up and put it over that. Lift it gently, try to get plenty of support under it. Take it to the frame. Put it in place. I now have this on a board, and if I drop it, it will bang into place. Now that I've got the basic shape, I will trim this up a bit, fettle it up, maybe add a piece here, possibly put some handles on it, and I will also do something on the back by way of perhaps putting feet on it, just to lift it up a little bit when it's firm and I'm able to handle it.